Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by Kentwood Ford. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and we have two of our co hosts joining us this evening to preview Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. Our first guest, Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Not doing too bad. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad. Just a nice hot day here in Alberta, so I can't complain with the weather at all, and some great news to share as we will get into that before we get into the preview. But and it looks like we found him. He's risen. He is here. He is not boots in the ground at the Moss Pit. He was there. I don't know. Him and Gene got into a fight. I don't know. We'll have to see. But Phil Stockley, are you alive?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm
There
back,
we
boys.
go.
I that was false news being in the moss pit. I wouldn't be caught
What?
dead there. But if I did go there, I might be dead because, all the scraps and
Well,
the
if
stabbings
you're
and
wearing if you're wearing that hat and that shirt, you might be dead. So,
yeah.
Matt,
This
tell
shirt
tell
was
tell
good
the
luck
listeners
last
what you
year.
got on right now, because the ones who are listening might not be able to see on the YouTube channel.
Well, it's my Matthew Kachuk friendship tour shirt from his time in the Flames, and I wore this last year, and it was good luck for old Chucky. So
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into the Stanley Cup final preview, let's break some breaking news that came out earlier from the Calgary Flames. And longtime Vice President of Communications, Peter Hanlon, moved from that position to Assistant General Manager position in Calgary. So long overdue, but long and well deserved. Huge congratulations to Peter. He is the first guy that ever believed in us, so we are definitely huge fans of his. The belief he gave us in that podcast is amazing, but also the importance that he's done in terms of helping others. Um, the passion, the dedication, the worth ethic, the kindness, the caring, everything you want to say. Peter has done an amazing job with everything he's done, and he's made that organization, the culture, the expectations, the standard is very, very high there, and it's all set with Peter. And man, the chemistry him and Connie have, all dating back to when Connie played for the Flames and Peter was in that position before. And now the position that they're in now as manager and assistant general manager is quite remarkable. I know, Phil, you're the big Flames fan and all that. We'll get to your comments in a second, but I don't know how much of travels in terms of watching or hearing or listening or anything that you have, Nick, of Peter Hanlon, but obviously a very famous name in the hockey world. But anything you want to share and anything that you know about him from his time in Calgary?
so I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about him, but he's clearly had a very extensive career in both the American League starting out and then into the NHL. And I mean, honestly, good, great on him to go from, like a director, like being in the communications side to being, a really integral part now of the hockey operations. That shows how good of a job he really does. And that's awesome for him. Congratulations to Peter.
Yeah, he's a pretty savvy guy. Phil, your thoughts on the hiring of Peter Hanlon as assistant general manager?
Well, very well earned. And if you've ever watched a Flames broadcast, you've probably seen Peter Hanlon in the background. He's always there for the media availability. You would know more than anybody, Bosco. The players love Peter, and Peter absolutely loves the players too.
Yeah.
He's always got their back, and I'm sure they've always got his. So, very well earned. I think he's going to do a great job with Conroy there.
Yeah, a lot this year he was with the managers, but that could be a theme. That could always been something. But we were there a lot more this year. But in terms of, he does work hard. Like we get to the rink at you know, say 9 o'clock for a morning skate, 9:30, and he's well there before anyone else. He's literally the first one there, the last one to leave. Dinner is served 2 hours before the game. So let's just say there's a Hockey Night Canada game at 8 o'clock, and the first meal is served at 6, and pretty much at 7:30 when the players are just on the ice to get warmed up, Peter is going in and grabbing a meal and a quick meal to boot. Just that's pretty much probably the only downtime is when the players are on the ice. Obviously, Sean Kelso and Jordy Bayer, part of that group as well too. So I'm assuming Kelso will move up to Peter's position and Jordy will move up to Kelso's position. But who knows? They didn't make that announcement today, but we'll see. And there obviously were some openings in on the Flames website today for some positions, and one of them was in the communication. So maybe there is an opening to be had there. But yeah, the connection he has with the players, the city, the community, the foundation, like it's bar none the best. I'm very biased, but you're not going to find anyone in this world that will say anything bad about Peter Hanlon. I know in the world we say there's no perfect person, but if there is, you look straight at Peter Hanlon, and he's the godfather, Jamie Noodles McLennan's kids as well. So um, that's his best friend, and Peter is he knows the game in and out. He's been involved in the game 30 years, guys, for 30 years, professional hockey. That is quite the resume. Dating back to working with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the St. John team there. And yeah, just 30 years of resume in pro hockey, Nick. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the thing that sticks out to me is that he's really been with one team, in at the NHL level. I think that sort of longevity and that sort of loyalty that he shows to the team and is obviously reciprocated back just shows just how great of a person he is. Like it's really easy for guys to make mistakes and not be there anymore or whatever. But he's obviously done an excellent job, and just that loyalty factor is awesome. Just being there for as long as he has.
Yeah. Phil, any more thoughts on that?
No, just super pumped for him, super happy for him. Like you said, he gave you your big break with hooking you up with the Calgary Flames and the media pass. So we're big fans over here at Two Mutts.
Yeah, huge fans and I think that team is going to be a Stanley Cup. I put it in my post today on Instagram that the Flames are going to be a Stanley Cup contender for years to come. They got the arena now going, and yeah, they got good prospect pool. They're going to add more that this draft. They're going to continue to add. They are there, and they are going to be a team to watch. So all the best to the Calgary Flames, and in terms of that. But we're here to break down the Stanley Cup Final, Game 6 tonight in Sunrise. This will be a huge game. And this game is sponsored by our friends at Shadowfied Salon and Barbershop. They got 3 locations: downtown, Ellerslie, and the north side location. Thanks to Shadi and the team there. Jack Michaels was just there. His son was just there. They had a bunch of other players there: Stetcher, Brown, Josh Brown, Connor Brown, Ekholm. They were all there getting freshened up to get themselves looking fresh and ready for a possible Stanley Cup victory. But it was not the night that everyone wanted in Edmonton for Game 5. They had the home ice advantage, and it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. Florida has 9 players that have 15 points or more. The last, I think, was the 81 Islanders about 45 years ago, I think. The NHL released that the other day, and I think Bob and Jack had that on their broadcast too. And that, if that is in a regular season, that prorates to over 60 points through that. They have 18 goals from their back end. They're just a wagon, the Florida Panthers. It's hard to beat them. But Nick, what's your thoughts here? What did you see right? What did you see wrong in Game 5? And what do the Oilers have to do for a win in Game 6?
For me, I thought it was a perfect road game by Florida. It was, I think I'd read somewhere it was the lowest event Oiler game of the season. So, I mean, to be able to come in on the road after what happened in Game 4, just the way that, they were obviously up in that game and they ended up losing it, to be able to come on the road in a building that is hostile, to be able to do what they did for Florida, it was really, really impressive to me. They were full marks. Brad Marchand scored 2 unbelievable goals. Him and Sam Bennett have been excellent. And I think for Edmonton, if they're going to have a chance at, even just forcing a Game 7, to me, there's been too many plays where guys have just kind of stopped skating. They haven't battled enough, especially along the boards. They're not getting clean zone exits. And then in the offensive zone, they're not being hard enough on the forecheck. And he's not getting talked about a lot, but I really think that through the first 5 games, you can see the impact of not having Zach Hyman in the lineup. He is so good below the dots in the offensive zone, and they're really having a hard time, getting in and really pressuring them and creating some turnovers. And some of the turnovers that Florida's had in their own zone have been because of their own, not great passing, more so than it has been the Oilers pressuring them. So I think Edmonton, I mean, there's nothing left, right? If they don't come out and have a great game and play as the best that they can against a team that's just suffocating, there's no tomorrow. There's no excuse for them to not show up for this one. The fact that they didn't show up for Game 5, I thought was not a great look for them, but they got another chance, so we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. They gotta they they like they said, they kept saying today they do things the hard way. So we'll see what they do tomorrow in terms of trying to jump on the Florida Panthers early, get the lead early, try to get on the power play early. Their penalty kill is the worst penalty kill in Stanley Cup Finals history. The Vegas Golden Knights had the worst when they won the Cup in 2019, or when they won the Cup a couple of years ago. And it's 71% was their PK. The Oilers are at 69, so not good at all. Phil, I know you're cautious. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you just say you can't sleep on this Oilers team. Like I don't know where you're at. Obviously, we reported Skinner's going to start. Darren Dreger jumped on that too. So there's our report, his report. So Skinner's going to be starting this game. He is 9-1 in games from through 4 to 7. He's 4-1 in game sixes, and he's 3-1 when the Cup is in the building. So a lot of stats go Stuart Skinner's way. He is the best goaltender the Oilers have. He's going to give them the best chance to win and get back into the series in terms of getting it back, drag them back to Alberta, as they like to say.
Berta, just Berta.
Just Berta. Is this game coming back to Alberta? Berta?
Well, it's I was talking to a friend of the podcast and cheap seats guy Jimmy Ward earlier today, and we were just saying, they just find a way. They somehow find a way. Like every game they play, Game 3, Florida wins, Edmonton's done, and then Edmonton wins Game 4, and all of a sudden they don't think Florida's going to win another game in this series. Then Florida wins Game 5, and Edmonton's done. It's like such a roller coaster for fans. I don't know how they're like the hospitals aren't just full of people having like heart attacks and like um I couldn't handle it. Like I remember back in '04 with the Flames in their Stanley Cup final run, it's stressful. And these fans just I can't imagine like what they're going through. The highs and the lows have just got to be such a wide swing. But
Are you stressed
um
when you watch these games, Phil?
I'm stressed. Yeah, I am stressed.
What?
Are you?
Not even close, buddy. I'm just like, I just sit back for the ride, man. Like, if they win, they lose, it's all good, buddy. But I'm not stressed at
But
all.
I'm not as stressed as like an Oilers fan would be. Like it's definitely not that bad,
Well,
but
you don't want the Oilers to win. Like, it's obvious. Like, I'm probably in the same boat as you. Like, so, but I don't know where Nick stands on any of this. Like, he's just probably the most impartial guy. He just calls it down the line. There's no, I say to
if
anyone in our group chat, he's the one that's the least calm, the best calm. Like, there's no nerves with good old Nicky here, but yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Like it's probably a roller coaster of emotions for them because like even at the practice today, like I don't understand this. Like, hey, I'm here. Knobloch's in the position he's in. I ask you guys a question. Like today at practice, there's like 40 different pairs, lines. Everyone's playing everywhere. Everyone's all over the place. There's no consistency at all with any of the pairings, any of the lines. So like he's not tipping his hand to what he wants. I found it interesting that it was a full team practice. Every single player was out there, and then Florida zero. Evan Rodriguez was one of the only regulars on the ice. He said he just wanted to get his legs out there. Is that an advantage for Florida, Nick, or is that not an advantage for Florida?
I mean, honestly, I think at this point in the year, the teams have, they're probably going to skate. If it goes beyond game six, they'll probably each have, maybe one or two more times on the ice. At this point in the year, it's all maintenance. So, the Oilers are all out there. They're getting their legs going. I don't think pairings matter. And I mean, honestly, I think Florida has a pretty good idea of what Edmonton's going to do. I don't think they're going to be changing that much.
No.
Um, so I think for Florida, they're probably, if it's an optional skate and they only got a couple of guys out there, that's kind of their deal, and they're obviously comfortable with that. And if Edmonton wants to have everybody out there, they're obviously comfortable with that too. And but it's like it really is just maintenance. Like you're not like the adjustments you make now are going to be on video. You're not going to be doing that in a practice where it's not mid December during a losing streak here. We're 2 games away from the end of the season for both these teams. So they're just trying to keep maintenance going here and keep the timing up or whatever. But
Yeah, just they look like they were flat, lack of energy. Phil, question: Draisaitl
Yeah.
McDavid, they're being outscored 3-1 when they're on the ice together against Florida. Do they run and go full nuclear tomorrow for the whole game, 5-5?
Sorry, my headphone cut out there for a second. Just repeat the question, bud. Sorry.
No worries, buddy. Do the Oilers go full nuclear tomorrow with Connor and Leon together, knowing that they've been outscored 3-1, 5-on-5 in this series?
Well, that's part of the problem, isn't it? It's ideal to split those guys up and strengthen two lines, right? But every game they've ended up going back to the nuclear option, and the nuclear option it usually works. And I joke around in the chat and I say, like, when you put them together, for example, like even at the end of the game, like I said, like the Oilers should just play 6-on-5 the whole time without a goalie because they're guaranteed to score, right? But I don't know, like I would assume, like, here's the thing. What is an average elite forward play in a night for minutes? 20 minutes?
No, probably like 16, 17.
Yeah, yeah, not even 20 minutes.
Yeah.
McDavid's averaging 24 minutes right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
He's not tired and he's good to go. I don't know. Like that's a lot of hockey. And they've been here 2 years in a row now. And I'm not sure what his average ice time was last season in the playoffs. Probably pretty similar. I don't know if you guys know or not.
Obviously, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was 26.50 last year.
But you saw in the last game, like I don't care what anybody said, I thought the others looked exhausted. Even like you look on the bench and they're crouched over, they're tired. They're exhausted.
Drinking a lot of
I
water.
don't know if the third and fourth liner is tired, but like and don't get me wrong, I do feel like the Oilers' depth has got them to the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Against Dallas, against Vegas, like I thought they were excellent. Florida's a different beast though. That game the other night, it looked like men against boys. Like, and Brad Marchand looks like a guy who's not going to be denied. People always say that about Connor McDavid, like, oh, he's not going to be denied this year. You got to think Marchand's the same way. He's got the same mentality. Kachuk's got the same mentality. So,
Yeah. What's your thoughts on any of that, Nick? What do you think? What's your perspective?
I mean, the big thing for me, if they go to the nuclear option or not, is whether Ryan Nugent Hopkins is healthy enough to take faceoffs. I think he only took 3 the other night in Game 5.
Wasn't
They need a guy that can take draws on the second line. Otherwise, they kind of can't put those two together unless you're going to elevate somebody who into your top 6 as a center who probably shouldn't be there, like a Henrique. I think that to me is a big factor. I bet I'm thinking, at the beginning of the game, maybe for the first period they'll kind of test it out, and I think they might end up having those guys split. But it wouldn't shock me that if Florida gets 1 or 2 like they have early in pretty much every game in this series except for game 1, I think that we're going to see there'll be a little bit more and more of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl together until the third period. It might just end up being like Game 7 last year, where you know if it's close with 8 minutes to go, they might just stay on the ice like they did last year in that final. So
Yeah. Do you, Nick, do you think the media, the fans respect Florida more than they were going into the series, where it was Oilers in four, Oilers in five? It was going to be a cakewalk for the Oilers. Do you think there's a little bit more respect happening in the city of champions and in oil country here?
I mean, I could only like I so for anybody listening, I'm not on social media, so I don't really see the fan part of it, to be honest.
Mhm.
I think recently I read a lot of stuff through the Athletic and things like that, and you can tell that the writers are starting to be like, I don't think I think they're starting to realize that they kind of underestimated Florida a little bit. Um, I don't think that they overestimated what the Oilers can do, but I think they underestimated Florida and just how good their depth is. And they really come at you in waves. Like we were talking about it in the chat the other day during the game. With 6 minutes to go, Florida's got their fourth line on the ice, and they're getting, they're in the offensive zone, right? Like they're like
That
every
was
line on
against
that team is
Oilers' first
rolling.
line too, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like they're not afraid to roll lines, and they're going to keep coming at you in waves. They're going to keep being physical, and I think that at least the media that's around the team that I pay attention to, because there's some that I just don't worry about at all.
Yeah.
When I think they've gotten past the point where they're complaining about calls and refs. And I think they've moved on to, okay, maybe this Florida team is actually pretty good, especially after that game 5, the way that they came in here and really just suffocated the Oilers to death. And I think I can't remember who it was, but somebody said it was like the return of the dead puck era. But I mean, Florida scored 23 goals in 5 games here in the Stanley Cup final. Like I remember the dead puck era in the 90s when, games were being won 2-1, right?
Yeah.
Teams weren't scoring 5 goals a game
No.
during the dead puck era.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm hoping that the media is starting to come around and be like, hey, these guys are pretty good. Like the ads that they made at the deadline this year were a lot more impactful than the ones that Florida did made last year. And there's a reason that they are where they are. They're one win away. They're a really good hockey team. They might be the best hockey team. Like if they win this year, I think you can make an argument that they're probably one of the best teams in the cap era.
Correct. Yeah. I definitely think so. And the teams that they've had to beat going to this run, I would say that is a foregone conclusion that we should be able to say that. I'll pose the same question to you, Phil, in terms of, do you think, you're on social media, you're in the car, you're listening, you got the pulse, you have family members that are fans of the Oilers and whatnot too, and all that, and but yeah, the media, the social media factor plays a big factor, and yeah, you don't have that Nick, but Phil, you do. Where are you at? Do you think the fans, the media, are now giving the Oilers a lot of credit? Because listening to some shows today, it's still not that. I was very surprised to hear some of the that are going around the city today.
Well, it depends on the day, right? It's like I said, it's this roller coaster. When the Oilers win, there's no respect.
Mm-hmm.
When the Oilers lose, there's a ton of respect. So, like I said, it depends on the day. You it's like before puck drop the other night, the Oilers broadcast said Oilers are going to go play for the cup in Florida on Tuesday night. They were confident that that was going to happen. Um,
And it didn't.
and it didn't happen, which is fine, right? It's okay to
And
believe and
they
have
booked out a
faith in your
restaurant
team.
in Florida too, right? That was before the puck drop in Game 5. They booked out a restaurant to celebrate a Game 6 Stanley Cup win, which was very surprising. So
So I feel like the media is kind of like the same way as the fan base. Like it depends on the night. It depends if the Oilers win, they're not losing again. And if the Oilers lose, they're not winning again.
mhm.
And it's, who can we blame today? And, it's been Stuart Skinner. I don't think Calvin Pickard played a great game the other night. And,
I think
on that front too.
two of the goals there, he Skinner would not let in. It's just because he's a bigger goalie. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. And I saw a tweet the other day and it's Sid Sixtero. He said, if you're still debating who your game 6 starter is in the Stanley Cup Finals, did you ever have a starter?
Yeah. Touche. Touche, Sid. You're not very well liked. I know that because
No,
he's got
but
another tweet chimed up, ready to go if the Oilers lose. Can Connor put up with this? So, that's coming from Sid. So, but yeah, he's the guy that often puts that tweet out. And but I found it interesting today. Paul Bissonnette, first time ever with Bob Stauffer on. He said the Oilers don't win. Don't be surprised. Connor McDavid signs an extension, plays out his final year. So he said that right with Stauffer on air. I was very surprised that he called that out. And Stauffer looked like he saw a deer in the headlights when that comment came out of Biz's mouth. So yeah, he said yeah.
Biz loves that, hey?
He does. And the race, and I think Yandel asked him, like, why do you say that? And he goes, look, buddy, look at the unquestionable, awful moves the guy was his agent made, and just went after Jeff Jackson. He's like, Jeff Skinner shouldn't even be in this lineup. He's like, Victor Arvidsson was. He's like, how do you give Victor Arvidsson $4 million, but you don't give Holloway $4 million? So it's like just questionable moves that
fair point. That's a fair point.
yeah. So he just said, like, and he's like, yeah, I would not have touched Skinner, would never have played the playoffs. And he also said too, he's like Kane's not a third, fourth line guy. He's got to play top six. And when you put him in the bottom six, you're not going to get anything out of him because he's just that kind of guy. He's not going to. So he's like, the only way the Oilers win tomorrow night, his point is if Kane's in the top six, and put him with Draisaitl. So or McDavid. I know a lot of that was going on today too on that show, but anyway, it's pretty interesting. He does love that. He does love causing the controversy of that, and he does feel like the Stanley Cup final was Toronto versus Florida in his opinion. So he did say
so do you.
For me, I like, with just back to the McDavid thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be the moves. Like I've said this. I think 100% McDavid's re-signing here. I think the only thing that might get him to maybe think would be if they don't win the next two games, then he's 28 years old. He's going to start. He'll be, he's starting his 28-year-old season next year, and he can look around at his contemporaries around the league. McKinnon's got a cup. Rantanen's got a cup. Kucherov's got two. Eichel's got a cup. Assuming that he doesn't win this series, the Oilers don't win this series, Kachuk's got two cups. The three guys that went in the top four with Leon in 2014 all have two cups now. Like, I think if you start looking at your contemporaries and seeing where those guys have cups, Crosby and Ovechkin too, and you're just kind of sitting there like, man, I'm the best player here, and all these guys have won and I haven't. Maybe that gets you thinking a little bit, but I still think he's 100% coming back here. Like, and Stauffer would know more than anybody. I think he's coming back.
Yeah. Well, he got named with five other guys today, for the Olympics. Every single one of those guys got a cup, if not more. So Point's got two, Crosby's got three, McKinnon, Makar have one, Sam Reinhart has one, possibly two. So McDavid could add to that, right? There's still an opportunity. There's still two games to play here.
Oh yeah.
And I thought for sure, playing ball hockey here and talking to some people and whatnot, like, I thought McDavid would be a man possessed to be more determined than anything in this cup final. And then digging into the numbers, if you dig right into the numbers, McDavid should have 21 goals right now. 21. He only has 7. So the expected goals by him is through the charts. So at some point, does that break? He got 1. Is that enough to get him to, does he have 2? Does he have 3 tonight? Like, he just needed 1 for maybe to get going, and we'll see what happens in this game tonight. Like, it's still, like, Phil's not wrong, and you're not wrong saying is it's hard to bet against this team. Everyone's bet against them, and look where they've taken you to, and they're taking their team to with 2 goaltenders. Like,
every time you think they're out, every time you think they're down and out, even in games, they come back.
Yeah.
I think for me, the only thing that gives me trepidation about them is, when you watch them, like, they're down 2-0 to LA. Well, they've beaten LA so much recently in the playoffs. They've beaten Dallas 2 years in a row. They beat Vegas. All the teams in the West are trying to figure out a way to beat Edmonton. but then Edmonton gets to the final and they're playing a team that knows how to beat them.
Correct.
So, because they've already done it.
Yeah.
And, Edmonton, if they don't play their best game of the season tomorrow, and their best game might not be enough. It really might not, because Florida's that good. But if they don't play their best game tomorrow, then they're going to have to sit in that locker room again, quiet, and think about what could have been.
Yeah. Look, everyone, Toronto lost 6-1 or whatever it was, game 5 on home ice. And we all thought they were done. I thought they were done. They went to Florida and played their best game of the year, and they won. They forced it to a game 7. They followed up with another passenger game and let it swander away. And that's just the good teams. The Florida Panthers are unreal on the road. Now they got this home matchup. Again, we saw a glimpse of Barkov offensively. What a steal he had to set up Reinhart the other night. And that's the thing. Like, look at Florida. You look at that game. Like, they're up against Toronto. Toronto scores. Domi scores. 36 seconds later, Florida comes back and scores. The other night, Edmonton scores. 46 seconds later, Reinhart says, "Not tonight. We're scoring," and he scores. So, like, I don't know. And I just think it's a lot of what you talked about earlier, and some of it was off the recording, and just you learn how to win. And Florida, I don't think they want to do a 13-hour flight back here, man. I don't think it's in their cards. I'm not saying it's 13 hours the one way. You know what I mean? Like, they got to come back here and then would have to come back home. And I think, we've done that before. We're not doing that again. So,
and they felt the sting of losing as well.
They did. And Evan Rodriguez said it to Mike Johnson, who reported it tonight on TSN Hockey, that he's like, we didn't feel pressure games in those other games. The only game we felt pressure was game 7, because that is it. There was no game 8, game 9. And, so that was the most amount of pressure we faced. And so, it's it's tough to bet against Skinner. He's got a little bit of a reset. We know what he does in his resets. He comes back lights out. He's hardly ever lost in these games. He's proven everyone wrong. He's even proved his own coaching staff wrong. And I know the difference in between, and we reported it. It's the general manager and the head coach aren't on the same page here in Edmonton. They're far from being on the same page. The GM wants him to play. And Knobloch tipped the hat today. He goes, "Yes, it's not my decision. I have, as an assistant coach, I have players and I have a general manager. Everything I've been told from my Oilers sources is that they really, really, really wanted Skinner to play, and the head coach went a different way. I don't think he has that opportunity anymore. It's pretty clear, Skinner starting, and the general manager didn't want Picker to start. So does that cost them, the Oilers, the Stanley Cup? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't know, but
Skinner's the better goalie, straight up.
100% he is. Always has been, always will be. So he's if he wants to come back here next year, he's going to be on the opening night roster starting game 1, not Pickard. He'll be Skinner.
And he'll be in the running to play for Canada at the Olympics.
100% he will be. You damn well got that right too. So I don't know what this whole overthinking, not thinking, and it's, Paul Maurice over there knows that, hey, Bobrovsky, it's lit up for 15. Bobrovsky's starting the next game. Phil, you're about to say something? Go ahead.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because that's a comment you made to me earlier today, Bosco.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bobrovsky was right for the picking in game 5 too. Like, you could tell, like, he was struggling to read pucks off the end boards. He was right for the picking, and the Oilers just couldn't break through. Like, they only had like 3 high danger chances. Yeah. And I don't know if Bobrovsky has another game like that, especially at home, where you're a little bit more familiar with the boards and the bounces and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was ripe in game 5.
Yeah. Phil put it.
But do you guys think that?
Yeah. But he was. You're right, and it's the veteran team in front of him said, "Not tonight, buddy. We got you. You had us. We got you." And they went and got some goals for him, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's what I was gonna say. Right. I was gonna say, like, maybe his team recognized that too and stepped up for him.
Yeah. Well, that's what good teams do, right? The Oilers got to get the lead. They've been trailing too much. Florida gets the lead. This is out.
Yeah, they've spent too much time chasing games this year in these playoffs, and like, being the greatest comeback team of all time is awesome. until it costs you
Yeah.
at the end because you just get tired. It's way more tiring chasing the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting. Only 3 times apparently in Ekholm's career he's played the right side, and he got exposed twice. The Panthers took advantage of it off face-off plays. So
Well, because even
He
on that
wasn't
first
ready.
goal with Marchand,
yeah.
so he's a left-hand shot. So normally when you're going to move to the middle on the left side, you're going to move to your right side, right? So naturally he's on the right side, so he's supposed to move into the middle to the left, but he actually took a step to the right, which opened up the space down the middle and gave Marchand that lane. So he just from his experience of playing, all the time on left D, it's in your head that that's the way that you're going to go. It's just natural for you. And he opened up that lane for Marchand just because of he's just not familiar enough playing the position on your offside. It's playing defense on your offside is very difficult. There's few guys that can do it effectively, and if you're not doing it very often, you're going to make those mistakes.
Yeah. I remember McKenzie.
Yeah, and
Yeah, go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
no, you go for it. I'll speak after.
Yeah, I was just saying, like Uyghur, remember him telling us in Calgary where the disadvantages are. And we even asked Tyson Barry at the start of the year, have you ever done it? He goes, last time I did it was junior. And he had like 700 games or whatever under his belt. Never played one shift in the NHL on the right hand side until he went to Calgary because they were just loaded with right shot D. And obviously it ended up working out where he had to go to the minors. He just had too many of them. And, it's hard. It's the greatest league in the world, and you're getting the puck on a hand that you don't need it on when you're looking down, and the time is you broke it down, Nick. It's perfect, like what you just said. It's the time and space is not there for that if you're on your off, and it's like very rare. There's players that can do it in this league. Phil, you were going to say something. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, Bieksa, like in the intermission, he talked about that exact play on like Marchand on Ekholm, and he talked about being face-off ready. So, like I was gonna actually ask Nick, who's a great coach, about being like face-off ready. Like, what do you think he meant by that?
I mean, I mean, at that level, they're probably studying, looking at video, what teams are doing, what their tendencies are on those face-offs. But you have to watch, like, because Brad Marchand is a left winger, right? So it starts with your right winger needs to slow him down off the draw first off, right? Like he can't just be hitting top speed right through there. But you have to understand, like your centerman's eye, if he's losing the draw, guys got to tie up. They got to make sure that there's a chance, like there's no chance that anybody's getting loose. You have to be focused. Your centerman has to make sure, like if he sees something with the way that the other team's set up, that he's, your centerman's the captain on faceoffs, right? He's like the basically the quarterback for on faceoffs. He's got to be commanding. He's got to make sure he's looking and seeing everybody where they are and making sure that they're in the right spots. And that, it's up to those guys to make sure that they're ready right off the draw. Like if something happens, like for a defenseman in the neutral zone, if something happens and they're coming your way, you better close up the middle of the ice. You can't give up that lane, right? You want to force guys to the outside because you can let them shoot from the outside all day and they're probably not going to score. But as soon as if you make a mistake off the draw, if you're not ready off the draw and you give up the middle of the ice, they're gone and you're done. You're going to get cooked, as the kids say nowadays.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too. Is he is a lefty, but on those plays, it goes back to the face-off ready. He switched with Lister Ryan and went to the right side. And as the play goes on, not every play turned into a goal. Starts the play on the right side, finishes the play on the left side. So,
okay, yeah, no, I got that wrong then.
You're right. You're right. But he is a lefty. He does play left wing all the time. But what he did on that face-off at center ice, he went to the right side. He changed with Lister Ryan right before the puck was about to drop. So it's again that face-off ready. You're 100% right. You're not wrong, but it's just he still scored the goal on the left side. Is the point. So and that's the point I think you're trying to make is it's just he reads the play, he jumped, and I know the whole thing. The series supervisor, they said the Oilers are saying that he's jumping the plays. Like I don't know, man. Like
for me though, like. How many times have they had to kick somebody out of the face-off circle in this series?
Oh, it's
like it's all the time. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're not letting anybody get away with anything. So I don't know if that holds water. For me, it doesn't hold water because they're booting everybody almost every second face-off.
Correct.
They've even dropped the puck and the puck gets like there was one time it was on a power play. the Oilers run a power play. They had the offensive zone face off. It was just starting, and Draisaitl won the face off so great that it went right between the two defensemen and down the ice. But then they blew the whistle and then they redropped the puck for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and that was a perfect scenario for Florida. Leon or Draisaitl wins the puck back and it clears the zone, and then it's like nope. Somebody had their toenail on this circle or whatever they're kicking everybody out for. But it's like that to me has been really frustrating.
I agree. And then obviously Knobloch blaming the first periods of them sitting in the penalty box. Like that's on you as a coach and on you as a player. The Oilers have 15 high sticking penalties to the Panthers 2 in this cup final. That's ridiculous.
And I mean, for as much as people want to complain about the head snapping, I mean, if you whether the guy snaps his head back or not, if you hit somebody in the face with your stick, you should be getting a penalty. I mean, whether they're selling
Got to
it
be
or
in
not.
control.
Yeah, and like they need to be they can't be so careless with their sticks. They just can't. Like you can't put yourself in a position, especially when their penalty kill hasn't been as good as it needs to be to win a championship. You can't put yourself in those spots, especially like the offensive zone face of penalties are the worst.
Yeah. Hey, I think Panthers get her done. That's my prediction, and then we can get on with the free agency and draft and all that stuff. Phil, where are you at? Done.
I said Panthers in 6 from the start, so I got to stick with Panthers in 6.
Okay. Nick, what's your thoughts?
I got Oilers in 7. I think they're going to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see.
Why he's a fan favorite, hey?
Yeah.
I don't believe that. But hey, listen, you were talking about it earlier about the stress. I'm full disclosure. I hope both teams lose. And that's why I can just sit back and relax because I just hope they both lose. I know they won't,
And they just
but I hope
they take the trophy back to Toronto, eh, and just put it in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. See,
or Philadelphia.
So. Oh well, that's never going to happen in my lifetime. So like, let's not get crazy here.
I think so. All right. Well, fellas, that's it. Let's wrap up there. We'll leave it at that. We should all enjoy this game. And I guess for other fans, hope for the best, see how it goes. It's on the players. You can't do anything more than what you've already done and cheer and do your thing. You pay your dollar, you get a holler. But let's see what the 18 skaters and the 2 goaltenders do later this evening. Take care, everyone. We'll have another podcast later in the week. So all the best to you guys and enjoy the cup final.